What can I say? Miserable, miserable, miserable. Just a nightmare in Buffalo. I can't even say the word miserable, but it was miserable. I can tell you. Nightmare in Buffalo on Monday Night Football. Jags go down. What was it? 47-10, I believe. Jaguars, after 3 games, they've not scored 20 points in a single game. 10 points in Buffalo. The home game against Cleveland, they got a paltry 13 points. I guess the best output for the Jaguars was the Miami game when they lost 20-17. But no matter how you slice it, they've not even scored 20 points in a game this year. No matter how the defense plays. And I think the Jags defense played pretty darn good in the first 2 games. I did see Trayvon Walker in the game against Cleveland get blocked a good bit. That kind of concerns me because he should be as the number 1 overall pick in the 2022 draft. He should be a dominating player, and we're not really seeing him as a dominating player yet. Now, true, he's a big, strong guy. He's being blocked a good bit, in my opinion, in plays I've watched. Now, I know there's been plays where he's gotten close to the quarterback. I think he's even got a sack this year, a finger sack, as I called it at the time. But I want Trayvon to break loose, and they're going to have to break loose. They're 0-3. You go into Buffalo, this has been a nightmare. There's the fan base. There was fans at the stadium here, I guess, watching the game at the stadium here in Jacksonville. The game was in Buffalo. Buffalo firing on all cylinders. And I said, man, that might be the MVP of the league, the quarterback with Buffalo. Buffalo's Josh Allen, not Josh Hines Allen, mind you. But the Jaguars have beaten Buffalo in the past. Brother Bortles beat Buffalo in London with a pass and a sliding catch by Allen Hurns in the end zone. You remember that game several years ago? So Buffalo was due, but the Jaguars, it was a nightmare. There was a nightmarish game many, many years ago when the Jaguars wore the gold mustard uniforms on Thursday night. And I believe it was against the Tennessee Titans. The first half was just like something out of the Twilight Zone. It was so bad and so unbelievable at the same time. That's what we had on Monday night. So I'm seeing we got behind 13-0, kicked a field goal. It's 13-3. I said, hey, we got a chance. And I was actually not watching the game yet. I was tied up with some business, and I ran into a guy. I ran into a guy who was wearing a Trevor Lawrence, it's Trevor time T-shirt or what have you. I said, man, we're getting beat 13-3. He said, no, it's 27-3 now. Those points got on the scoreboard quick, and Buffalo won the football game. Jags are 0-3. There's people talking about, I'm reading some stuff on Facebook and our Facebook group and other Facebook groups. And the problem is the people want Peterson gone immediately. They want Balky out. And I guess Press Taylor, the offensive coordinator, they want him out as well. So we look at scores because it's already Wednesday morning, September the 25th. And I thought about coming on live in the fourth quarter. I had gotten over to the studios in the fourth quarter of the game. I sometimes I'll listen to, if I'm not by a monitor, and I was running a little late getting back to world headquarters that particular night, but I got back here. Usually when a game gets out of hand, I'm about ready for an episode of Hogan's Heroes or something like that. But I mean, just a terrible, terrible loss. Let's pull up some NFL scores. I mean, things are better in Gainesville than in Jacksonville. Billy Napier and the Gators went to Mississippi State and won. I had a good friend telling me he didn't think Napier would even make it to Starkville, but he did. And they won the game. Florida Gators won their game 45-28 at Starkville against Mississippi State in college football. Taking a look at this past week in NFL, there was a Thursday night game back on September 19th. Jets 24, Patriots 3. And I I picked the Jets to cover the spread, and they did in that one. New York Giants beat the Brownies. That's an upset. Jaguars got beat by the Browns. What was it? 18-13, I believe. The Cleveland Browns beat the Jaguars 18-13 in week number 2. These are week number 3 scores now. New York Giants 21, Cleveland Browns 15. That's an upset. I mean, the Giants look like they couldn't do anything against anybody. The NFL, man, not for long. I mean, one week is different than the next. Teams are better some weeks than others. Injuries come into play. The Jags got injuries. Evan Ingram didn't play in the Buffalo game, and he's kind of an outlet guy for Trevor Lawrence. And I know he was missing Evan Ingram, the tight end, but there was a bad pass thrown by Trevor Lawrence on an interception, which it looked like wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr., the rookie, was wide open, and he threw kind of a quail or duck out there. And it went over his head and went right into the defensive back's hands for Buffalo, and the route was on. I know Cook, the running back with Buffalo, scored a touchdown, and Buffalo was off to the races. They win the game 47-10. Other scores around the NFL, again, the New York Giants 21, Browns 15 on Sunday. Other Sunday scores on Sunday, September the 22nd, Green Bay Packers 30, Titans 14. Titans are 0-3 with Ridley and the rest of them. And the guy that plays quarterback likes mayonnaise in his coffee. And the Titans got beat by the Packers. And I picked Green Bay. I picked Green Bay to win that game. I'm not going to pick the Titans too often. I'll just put that out there up front for you. Green Bay Packers 30, Tennessee Titans 14. Colts from the AFC South defeated the Bears. Bears are off to a horrendous start. They got a rookie quarterback, and they got some players around him, and it may take another year for the Bears to, kind of become what they think they can become. They're not the 85 Bears. That's for darn sure. Was it the 85 Bears? Having a great defense, maybe the greatest defense of all time. Indianapolis Colts 21, Chicago Bears 16. These are 2024 scores on September the 22nd of 2024. Again, the Colts 21, Bears 16. I really thought the Bears could win that game. The Vikings pummeled the Texans. And this was an embarrassing loss for Houston. They've got C.J. Stroud, the guy that gets rid of the ball quick. The Vikings are playing some offensive football. They've got the guy playing quarterback that the Jets. Didn't the Jets originally draft him? The guy that's playing quarterback now? That's amazing. The quarterback out of USC, his name escapes me, but he's playing quarterback very, very good for the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings 34, Texans from Houston 7. Eagles, not much offense, but they win the game. New Orleans Saints have a pretty good defense. The Saints, in the first 2 games, on almost every offensive possession, they scored, but not this time. Philadelphia Eagles 15, New Orleans Saints 12. The final score, amazing. And I'll pull up some more scores here in a moment for you. Let's go back to those scores that we had. I don't want to lose our spot where we were looking at some football scores that we jotted down here. Let's see. Again, Jets beat the Patriots. Jets 24, Patriots 3. That was last Thursday of last week. Thursday started the NFL schedule. Thursday, September the 19th of 2024. New York Jets 24-3. New York Giants on Sunday, September the 22nd, surprised a lot of people by beating the Browns. New York Giants 21, Browns 15. Green Bay Packers 30, Tennessee Titans 14, Colts, Indianapolis Colts 21, the Chicago Bears 16. Bears, I believe, are 0-3. Vikings are off to a good start. They beat the Texans, Minnesota Vikings 34, the Texans 7. That's the next opponent for the Jaguars, the Houston Texans. Talk about 2 mad football teams just coming off blowout losses. Blowout losses for the Texans and the Jaguars, and they meet in game 4 or week 4. Game 4, week 4. Yes, I don't think there's any open dates and or bye weeks until week 5, I believe, in the NFL. I believe. Again, the Philadelphia Eagles 15, the New Orleans Saints 12, Vikings 34, Texans 7. Jim Harbaugh suffers his first loss with the Chargers, but it was a pretty good game. Pittsburgh is playing good football, good defense. Pittsburgh Steelers 20. I keep wanting to call them the old San Diego Chargers, but it was the Pittsburgh Steelers 20, the LA Chargers 10, now coached by Jim Harbaugh. Denver Broncos surprised Tampa Bay. Now, I picked Denver against the spread, to at least, not get covered in the spread by Tampa Bay, but they won the game. You got a good coach in Sean Payton there. He's going to gradually turn that thing around in Denver, and it may have started on Sunday, September the 22nd, as the Denver Broncos get a win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Denver Broncos 26, the Buccaneers 7. We kind of called that game in our picks, but man, it was tough picking games. There were a lot of upsets. Things didn't go right. Probably the worst team in the league beat the Raiders. Carolina Panthers 36, the Las Vegas Raiders 22. The Raider fans after the game are saying, man, Gardner Minshew's not the answer. So the fan bases, man, they have a voice on social media, no doubt about it. Carolina Panthers 36, the Las Vegas Raiders 22. The final, Seattle Seahawks dumped the Dolphins. Tua did not play in that game. He may be out for a while, maybe out for a good while. The Seahawks beat the Dolphins. Seattle Seahawks 24, the Dolphins 3. The Ravens got way out in front early over the Dallas Cowboys, but the Cowboys and Dak Prescott, they really stormed back and made a real close game of it at the end. Baltimore Ravens 28, the Dallas Cowboys 25. Finally, a score I'd been looking for that I finally found. I didn't even know the score until this morning on Wednesday morning. By the way, the Jacksonville, Florida leaders preparing for a storm. Tropical Storm Helene could become a hurricane and could be here in Jacksonville. More flooding, water for Duval, St. Johns County, Nassau County, Clay County, surrounding areas, even up to, South Georgia. It looks like Helene is going to come on shore sometime Thursday or Thursday night, which will be tomorrow, as we record this podcast on Wednesday morning, September the 25th. I saw the cone or the predicted track, and it looks like it's going to be west of Jacksonville, probably west of Lake City, kind of right there in the middle, maybe not even the Panhandle, but what do they call it? The Big Bend area. Going to come right up the Gulf and going to land somewhere in North Florida and kind of the Big Bend, the Panhandle region, and it could scoot to the east and be closer to us. We'll just see what happens. Jacksonville, Florida leaders are preparing for the storm, and wind's already going to pick up today, as I understand it, out of the southeast at 6 to as much as 25 miles per hour, and winds could be gusty at times today, even a day before the storm's supposed to arrive today on Wednesday, September the 25th. Here's the game that I didn't know. The LA Rams 27, the 49ers 24. What a great victory for the Rams. The 49ers went in as a pretty good size. I think they were at least a touchdown favorite. Rams win it. Maybe they did get a little home field advantage after all. Maybe things are changing with the LA Rams. Los Angeles Rams 27, the San Francisco 49ers 24. If the Jaguars, and a lot of people are saying Balky needs to go. If they ever fire Balky, I wish the first guy they'd call would be Les Snead. He's a Southern guy from Alabama. Our executive producer knows of him very, very well. Grew up in the same town that Mr. Les Snead is from, the GM of the LA Rams. He's a big SEC guy, but he's out. He's been running the Los Angeles Rams for probably pretty close to a decade now. They've won a Super Bowl, big media market, and the LA Rams somehow pulled off the upset. LA Rams 27, San Francisco 49ers 24. Let's see, the Detroit Lions 20. I always want to call them the St. Louis Football Cardinals, but they have moved well. They moved a long time ago. They're Arizona now. Detroit Lions 20, Arizona Cardinals 13. Keep an eye on the quarterback coach, Mark Brunell. Former Jaguars quarterback. Would love to see him come back to Jacksonville at some point in time. He's getting some NFL coaching experience now. He's been in Detroit for a couple of years as a quarterback coach. The Jaguars have a must-win in Game 4. And, a guy like Mark Brunell, he's going to finish the season out with Detroit. No telling what the future will hold. The Lions did beat the Arizona Cardinals, Detroit Lions 20, the Arizona Cardinals 13. The Chiefs have found a way to beat the Falcons, and good teams do that. The Kansas City Chiefs 22, the Atlanta Falcons 17. The nightmare on Monday night, the Buffalo Bills 47, the Jaguars 10. On our next YouTube video and our next podcast, this is still what I'm calling episode show number 51A. Buffalo Bills 47, Jacksonville Jaguars 10. On Monday night, September the 23rd, I'm calling it a nightmare in Buffalo. And another somewhat of a surprise, the Washington Commanders put up 38 points in Cincinnati against the Bengals. I expected the Bengals to blow them out. I mean, the Bengals scored 33 points, but the real story is the Commanders scored 38 points. So it's looking like the Cincinnati defense looked kind of crappy there. Washington Commanders, or the Washington football team, if you will, 38. The Cincinnati Bengals 33, as there were two Monday night football games on Monday night, September the 23rd of 2024. Trevor Lawrence did not play well at all. The Jaguars offensive line, they need to draft a couple of guys in the 2025 NFL draft. There's trouble on the offensive line. I think this will be Cam Robinson's last year in Jacksonville. I don't think he's playing that well. I think he played much better last year. On the defense, man, hard to explain it. I know that the defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen's getting a lot of criticism, but the offense just cannot give the Jags defense a break. I'm not going to say too much bad about the defense. I wasn't impressed with Trayvon Walker in the Cleveland game. I'm going to go back and look at the film. We'll take a look at the stats in our next podcast and YouTube video. This has been the Teal Shirt Report podcast. We're brought to you by Saucer Realty and Capital. For your real estate needs in North Florida, see Larry Saucer. The link for Saucer Realty and Capital is on our homepage at bigjreport.com. Also want to thank the madmaxmix.weebly.com. Max does a tremendous internet radio show, and Wednesday night internet radio, Wednesday night music request show, madmaxmix.weebly.com. Great show. I'm going to check it out this Wednesday night, Max. Hope I get an opportunity to, talk to you. We also want to thank, maybe we can do an interview, Max. Also, and we do interviews with Max probably at least once or twice a month, every other week, for the most part. Don't forget to check JC's show out live in the pub on Thursday nights. Live from the pub. Links are on our website at bigjreport.com. Live from the pub on Thursday nights at lakeufallhits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good. This particular podcast and video, we're just kind of highlighting the NFL scores from this past week. College football, the Florida Gators won. They did. The Florida Gators won at Starkville last Saturday, and that was game 4 for the Florida Gators. They've got wins over Samford and Mississippi State, but very disappointing losses to Miami of Florida and Texas A&M. The Gators are 2-2 overall, 1-1 in the Southeastern, the rugged and tough, the rough and tumble, I guess you would say the rough and rugged Southeastern Conference. The Gators are 1-1 in the conference, 2-2 overall. Heck, I hear the train coming as we're recording this podcast too. Here at the Cobblestone BigJReport.com studios in the Riverside area of Jacksonville, Florida. Tropical Storm Helene could end up being a hurricane over the next 24 hours or so. It's gonna be rough. Want to thank our sponsors, Social Realty and Capital, the MadMaxMix.weebly.com, and LakeUvalleHits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good. Check JC out live in the pub on Thursday nights, beginning at 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern time. And these shows are going to get interesting because we got some bad weather coming in. Helene is being tracked, and looks like it's going to, the path of the storm looks like it's going to come up to Florida, somewhere between us and the Panhandle, and maybe kind of in what do they call it, the Big Bend area that's kind of between the Panhandle and us in Northeast Florida. So we gave you the NFL scores. Do have some stuff to mention real quick. I want to thank again our sponsors, the MadMaxMix.weebly.com, Lake Uvalde Hits, and Social Realty and Capital for your real estate needs in North Florida. Whether it's home, residential, business, or commercial real estate, it's Social Realty and Capital. Go to our homepage, check our weather information, which changes daily. And normally that weather report's changed a couple of times a day, and we keep it updated. And the winds are picking up out of the southeast with tropical storm Helene coming in, it looks like sometime Thursday or Thursday night. This morning, currently partly cloudy and 72 degrees in Jacksonville, Florida at 6:30 a.m. On Wednesday morning, September the 25th of 2024. Rain chance today about 30% in North Florida. Wind southeast at 6 to as much as 25 miles per hour today on Wednesday, September the 25th. High around 88, low 71. Tropical storm Helene on the way toward us as early as this Thursday or this Thursday night from Big J Report Info. NFL football, NFL Monday Night Football. Jacksonville Jaguars lose to Buffalo. Buffalo Bills 47, the Jacksonville Jaguars 10. The Jacksonville Jaguars fall to a very disappointing 0-3. The fan base is calling for Balky to be booted out. Maybe Doug Peterson too. And the OC, he'd probably be out too. It's going to be interesting. I mean, I'm thinking if you need to make changes, hire a GM and let the GM hire his coach. There's GMs I'd be interested in getting here. But again, keep in mind, this is just game 3, week 3, but it looked horrible Monday night. Terrible. Buffalo Bills, and our executive producer, JC, is a big Buffalo Bills fan. I know he's happy with the win. And it's just one time during the season the Bills and Jags meet, but it seems like they meet every year. The Jaguars have won their share, but this year was just awful. Just awful. The Buffalo Bills 47, the Jacksonville Jaguars 10. The final score on NFL Monday Night Football. That was back on Monday night, September the 23rd. Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp season has come to an end. AAA baseball. The Shrimp regular season comes to an end at home. The Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp 5. The Gwinnett Stripers 1. A final on Sunday, September the 22nd. The Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp finished the regular season with a 73-76 record in 2024. Just 3 games under 500 for the entire 2024 season. According to John Gaylor, they did have a better second half of the year as well. NIL, John Gaylor's hitting me up with messages this morning. It looks like some of this NIL stuff is starting. If a player doesn't get the money he thinks he should get, he's going to be headed to other places. Gaylor was telling me about a quarterback from, I think, Holy Cross that went to UNLV. I hear UNLV is going to the Pac-2, which may become the Pac-7. I hear Utah State's going to go to that conference, and I guess the charter members are still there. Washington State and Oregon State were left in the Pac-2, and now that conference trying to reformulate and stay alive by adding other teams like UNLV, Utah State, etc. College football, man, it's never going to be the same again. I think that'd be a pretty good way to describe it. You've been listening to the Teal Shirt Report podcast. We gave you the NFL scoreboard from this past week and week number 3. No open or bye weeks yet. Hope your fantasy football teams are doing well. I'm kind of glad, JC, in the Teal Shirt Report League, you know who my quarterback is, by the way. But I'm open for trade offers. I really am. I want to thank our executive producer, JC, for doing such a great job here on the Teal Shirt Report podcast. I want to thank Alex Nunnery and John Gaylor, certainly our correspondent and contributor of the Teal Shirt Report podcast. What I really want to do in the next video, I want to break down the stats, and it's going to be ugly to look at. The Monday night game between the Jaguars and Bills, but I really need to do it. I need to take a look at offensive stats and defensive stats, and we will do that on the next episode of the Teal Shirt Report podcast. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.